Innocence, I lost you at the end when summer came and when you disappeared. But I caught a glimpse of momentary bliss. Never knew what I was missing all these years. Now I'm a little too high to climb down from the sky. Since I escaped into heaven, now I'm lost somewhere in a land of forgetting, that higher place, right where you left me. But I'll stay right here, floating on a fading dream. And this endless in between. Somewhere when I forget that higher place, right where you left me. But I'll stay right here, floating on a fading dream. In this endless in between. Need is senseless. It's like we play pretend. Always lost here at the end. Can we begin again? And I chase you down, but I can't see through the clouds. It's a game that's made for fools. I'll never win. Now I'm a little too high to climb down from the sky. Since I escaped into heaven, now I'm lost somewhere in a land of forgetting, that higher place, right where you left me. But I'll stay right here, floating on a fading dream. In this endless in between. Somewhere when I'm forgetting that higher place, right where you left me. But I'll stay right here, floating on a fading dream. This endless in between.
If you wanna dance, then if you wanna stay, if you want the chance, then fly away. If you wanna dance, then if you wanna stay, if you want the chance, then fly away. Fly away. If you want the chance, then fly away. If you wanna dance, then 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 if you wanna dance. Ready? Yeah. If you wanna dance, then fly away. if you wanna dance, if you wanna dance, if you wanna dance, if you wanna, if you wanna, if you wanna dance, if you want the chance to fly away.
You're now rocking with the Whew. Late night and all kinds of just, yeah. But we're here. And I've got an old face with me. Let's get this going.
Damn, did you say my face was old?
No, just saying that you haven't been on the
You
show.
said we have an old face. Really sleeping on the lawn tonight.
As if I don't every night.
You don't. I'll let you sleep in the house.
Distance nerding.
Hey! Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are here. It is late as hell. It is my fault. Sorry. But to make up for it, it is the return of the one, the only LaJack.
Yucky. Philippe called my face old. I just want that to be on the record.
I wasn't calling you old. I was saying it is a face that hasn't been on the show.
I have enough self-confidence issues and my husband calling my face old.
Well, welcome back, LaJack. The children are happy that you're here.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Sandra, yay, Jackie, you pretty.
Thanks.
Sandra is currently on sleeping drugs, so if she lasts the entire show, will be amazing. But ladies and gentlemen, let's jump right into all of this here. We are running a late show, later than we normally run it, but I'm happy to see some names popping up in the chat here. I'm happy to see that people are actually watching on a late version of the show. Hey, Jackie is hell yeah.
Hell yeah. L.A. night. Yeah. I don't do it as good.
Night. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk sponsors here because, ladies and gentlemen, this show is brought to you by the good folks over at Dubby. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Dubby is a brand of energy drinks created to help focus concentration reaction time with no jitters or crash. Dubby contains no maltodextrin, no sugars, no fillers, no artificial colors or dyes. Now, you may be wondering to yourself, why? Why should I drink Dubby over all the things that are out there, all the different energy drinks that are there? Well, if you're LaJack, you don't drink these at all. But for everyone else in the world that is into this kind of stuff, Dubby contains Neurofactor. Neurofactor is a neurotropic derived from the coffee fruit. Neurofactor helps give your brain focus and clarity, while the 150 milligrams of caffeine and 3 essential B vitamins help you stay alert and energized. Find out more about Dubby at www.dubby.gg and use the code NERDING10 to get 10% off your order. For those of us that do drink this stuff, it is delicious. My new flavor that I've been liking for like the last couple ones is this Aniba elixir. It's a sour gummy worm. Sour gummy bear. I mean, they've come out with like probably like 7 new flavors since that one, but I mean, like as far as like the last one that I bought, that's like that one was a really good one. So I still want to try the what the new flavor that they have is grandfather's denture water.
That sounds disgusting.
Until you hear what the flavors are.
Mhm.
It's
dragon fruit, and a Mongol elixir. That's actually really good.
Yeah, is that what gets like stuck in the dentures?
That's the joke behind it. It's supposed to be what's stuck in Grandpa's dentures.
Clever.
Yeah.
Very clever.
But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, Jackie is better than a towel flapping in the wind.
Whoa, that's a deep cut, Ty.
It really is. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, let's get right into this.
We lost our guest.
I think we lost him.
I think our bad jokes scared him off.
I saw him laughing. He was there. Let me message him here.
Maybe he turned into a pumpkin.
Maybe. Oh, there he is.
There he is.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into this. Our guest tonight is a filmmaker from the Northern Nevada area. He puts on a whole bunch of things. I got a chance to watch all the films that he's got out, at least on his website, and they're pretty good. And we'll talk about everything that he does and his style and everything like that. But I got a chance to interview him also at a con a while back at Kaboom Con. Got to meet him there, and I was like, God, I have to have him on the show just because he is a fun filmmaker with the things that he makes. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's please welcome on Liam Price, aka the infamous Rebel.
Hey, how's it going? How's everybody? I'm desperately.
I dig
I'm like sitting here
I dig the Millennium Falcon, man.
I was sitting here trying to figure out a good background. I was like, I like the picture. It's like one of my graphics that I've made. But I was like, okay, wait, maybe I got some better ones here. So I was like, okay, here's a picture of Disneyland. I like this. Let's do this one.
I like how like the whole chat is just basically like slaving over Jackie right now. They're just like, you are better than James, Jackie.
Oh, geez. Okay. So where do we start?
All right. Well, let's jump into this, man. So before we get into your story, before we get into everything, infamous Rebel, we have a segment on the show called Growing Up Geeky. So what did you geek out on when you were a kid?
Well, it's no secret. I was an absolute Star Wars nut from as far back as I can remember. The very first film I saw in theaters when I was, I think, like 3 years old was Phantom Menace.
Hello there.
So that was a staple of my childhood was Star Wars.
Right. I mean, it's staple a lot of our childhoods and a lot of us. Now, my wife didn't watch it until recently.
No, I didn't watch I've seen them. I didn't retain them. I wasn't 3 years old, but I saw Phantom Menace when it came out in the theaters, and I remember it because I had this like little Star Wars game that had a Darth Vader like toggle stick. It was like a handheld game.
Oh, okay,
and I lost it at the theater when I went to go see the movie. I lost little toggle thing. That's why I was like 10. I was 8 when it came out in 2000, right?
Oh, shucks. Wasn't it?
99, I think. Close enough. I think it was 99, but close enough.
I'm trying to think.
I was like 10. I was like 10 when it came out.
Yeah. I would have been 4 years old because I was born in 95. So I would have been like 4 years old if it came out in 99. That sounds right. Like I knew it was like 3 or 4.
Do you remember who took you?
Oh, it was my family. It was my mom and dad.
You didn't just walk there by yourself?
No.
4 years old in the late 90s. I mean, it wouldn't have been
like born a genius. Just walked myself to the movie theater and was like, I know what's good.
This Star Wars film, you say? It seems great.
I remember my family has a picture somewhere from the theater because like the merchandise around Phantom Menace was amazing. Like you had people find them on the internet and post about them. The soda machines with like the pod racing graphic inside of it.
That too, yeah.
I've seen
so my mom and dad have a picture of me standing next to the trash can that is done up like R2-D2 at the movie theater.
That's cool.
I don't know where that picture is, but I know they have it.
It exists somewhere.
It exists somewhere.
And if it exists, there's a good chance it's on the internet somewhere. So there we go.
Pretty much.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. So kind of moving on from there, and this being that you're a filmmaker, so this might be a little close to home for you, but if a film was made about your life, who would play you and why?
Who would play me? Shucks. That's a hard question to answer. And why? Oh man, I've never thought about that.
This one tends to stump a lot of people, man.
That is a hard one because like I've had people ask me plenty of times, you know, if a studio offered to like, you know, take your story and like make a movie out of it, but they didn't want to include you, like who do you think about playing your character? And it's like that's essentially the same thing as like who's playing you? And that's a difficult one to answer. Oh man, because then I got to think of like actors who are in like the same age range as I am. I'm just shy of 30. Oh man.
So you're a baby. It's fine.
I can't even. I would have to actually sit here and like start combing through actors and being like, who would be a good pick? Because like, man, I don't know. I'm hung up on Kevin Bacon right now because I just watched Tremors for the first time in a long time, like the OG Tremors, and like Kevin Bacon is so funny in that, and he's charismatic, and he's also a goofball, so that's what comes to mind. But that'd be kind of hard. I'd have to do some Lucasfilm de-aging to Kevin Bacon's face. Not much. He looks great, but it'd be maybe Kevin Bacon as like an older, seasoned Liam. Maybe could work out.
I dig
but
that.
I don't know. I don't know who it could possibly be for this age and younger. I have no idea.
Well, think about it, like because think about
I'm
like
gonna have to.
Yeah, like if something else comes up in mind, you know.
I'm honestly now you got me thinking. I'm gonna have to like sit on this one and be like, God, who would be somebody that like could do it well? Oh no.
I'm hearing puppies going wild here. Jack, you haven't been on the show in a while, so you know we started asking this question since you've been gone. I've never asked you that same question, kind of on the same thing. Who do you think would play you, Jack?
I don't know. Whenever I think of that question, I always think of like, what celebrity do I look like?
Sorry, guys.
Oh, you're good. I always primarily think about like, well, what celebrity do I look like? And I can't really think of one. This person doesn't look like me. But I feel like our body shapes are very similar. But I don't think in the face they look like me. And I'm nervous to share it because people are gonna be like, oh my God, you don't look anything like them. But I think it's more so the roles that I see them in and the way that they act in those roles, I feel like is more like me.
Okay.
And that I don't know how to say her last name. And if I said it, I'm probably gonna say it wrong, but it's the Florence Pugh.
Oh, Florence Pugh. Yeah.
Good solid pick.
Yeah, I feel like our body, like our faces don't look the same. She's got more like a rounded face and rounded features, but I feel like in a different lifetime, our body shapes are similar. And the roles that she plays are a lot like my personality. Kind of like she doesn't play like she's kind of like cold, distant, serious. I haven't seen her in a lot of like bubbly, silly, like goofy roles. It's always very like serious, determined, curious type roles.
Oh, you haven't seen her in Marvel?
I haven't. I've seen her in the one with Harry Styles. What is it like? Something Darling?
Yeah.
I've watched that, and then there was another one that the one where I can't think of it, but she's like a caretaker, like in like 1800s, like Ireland or something like that.
Interesting.
I can't think of what it's called. It's where the person it like is refusing to eat. Maybe that's the reason why I watched it. No. Person is refusing to eat, and they're claiming that they're getting manna from heaven. And so Florence Pugh plays a nurse that they call in to try to figure out how this person is living. And it turns out there's like this like dark secret, like family secret that they're trying to hide. Anyway, so I also saw her in that movie too. So anyways, this isn't about me, so that's my answer.
Yelena Belova, just throwing it out there. She's a great character. But yeah. So let's get into more of this, man. So let's talk about your experience as far as starting out a production company, man, because I know you started off with Infamous Rebel before really like filmmaking and everything like that. And I kind of asked in at KaboomCon, but like, you know, what came first, the prop making or the filmmaking, and you kind of got into that. So tell us kind of like your origin story, man, like where you came from as far as getting into this, leading into becoming a filmmaker.
I think it goes back to, if you had to nail one of the two, it'd have to be prop making. I think prop making is where I got started. And then as I was getting into that, I started getting interested into the filming aspect. Originally, like the prop making got me into like music, very specifically the prop that I use in my short film series. Not the exact same prop, but the original version of it back in like 2010. And at that time, like prop making was not a massive, I would say, easily available. As easy, you know, prop making is not easy, but it wasn't as accessible in like 2010. And so everyone was trying to make these replicas, you know, props of these, you know, ray guns from the band My Chemical Romance's music videos. And I was one of those people that just saw this stupid, you know, ray gun on 2 music videos. Is like, I want that thing. I don't know how I'm going to get it, but I want it. And so building, you know, out of cardboard and duct tape, and then watching videos of other people doing the same thing. And as time progressed, I kind of like forgot about that. I think around 2017, 2016, maybe. I had a family member who moved out here to Nevada from California, who was a member of the Mando Mercs, and he started getting me into building costumes. And I started building a Mando outfit, and then I couldn't even tell you how, in like late 2017, early 2018, I found this like 2-piece Stormtrooper helmet, like a costume helmet at a Savers. I was like, it's a Savers and it's going to be a $3 helmet, so I'm just going to buy this thing. And painted it up, happened to throw like Clone Wars era markings on it, and people loved it. So yeah. I just took that and ran with it, and then became this brand thing of like, this is my face, is this helmet, on social media, primarily Instagram. And then it then became like, I'm this Star Wars guy. I'm Red Rogue, this random, you know, person, this like punk rock outfit with this helmet for some reason. And then as time progressed, Red Rogue really started popping off on TikTok. And then I think I just saw, I don't remember how it came to be, but I just saw something on, I think, TikTok or Instagram that was, it was something to do with the prop guns from that MCR music video. And I was like, wait a minute, I remember that. And like all of a sudden the gears started turning again, and started deep diving into that, and realized, oh my God, this is like 10 years later, and people are still into this and still making replicas. Like now there's 3D files of these, you know, that fans have created of this prop gun. And I started falling back down that rabbit hole all around that prop gun. And so now I'm back into, and that's what got me back, not away from Star Wars, but then doing both. Now I'm Red Rogue, but also I have this really cool film project thing that I've that I've had on the back burner forever that I think I want to do now. And yeah, that it all starts with that stupid gun. Yeah, I don't know why. It's something about that design. It all started there.
Right, because I mean, you know, we're gonna get into aftermath and everything like that, but
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
it's pretty prominent all through aftermath, and it's like because at first when I heard the concept the first time, I was thinking, okay, well, you know, the gun, it kind of like a lot of it goes around the gun and everything like that, and
Mhm.
you know, when you start seeing some of the action sequences and everything like that, and kind of like what that goes in there, I mean, like there's it looks really good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I
Really quick, I have a stupid question.
Sorry, my
So,
stupid questions.
well, I mean, I think it goes without saying. I hopped in just to help Philippe out. I just want to make sure I understand what these different things are, so I can kind of follow
yeah,
along
yeah.
and help out. So, is Infamous Rebel? Infamous Rebel is a series that you created, or part
Yeah.
of a series, or a character.
The Infamous Rebel is me. The Infamous Rebel is it started as just a stupid Instagram username, and then it became like just the brand, so to speak.
Right.
Okay.
And as I've continued to grow this, you know, brand, this company, it's kind of became like, yes, I'm the Infamous Rebel, but like my brand is the Infamous Rebel Co. Like just to keep it simple, so everything still's in the same wheelhouse.
Okay.
And then this Stormtrooper character that I dress up as on occasion is still falls under that banner, but he has his own name and his own identity. He's Red Rogue because something about the tie-in of obviously the color red on his armor, and then the callback to Rogue One having Rogue in his name. I was like, this feels good. This feels right.
Okay. And then the Aftermath series is what is that?
The Aftermath series is my prediction of what would have happened in an alternate universe if 2012 had actually happened. Like,
okay.
The Aftermath series is something that it was a story that I had started writing in high school, and it's interesting how all these different things like piece together.
Yeah.
But when I was writing the story is when it was around sophomore years when MCR came out with the Danger Days album, and they had these two music videos, and the visuals were very reminiscent to something that I was already writing. So I kind of just put it on the back burner because I was like, you know what, I can't keep writing something that somebody else already did. Like I'm done. And you know, and then through all these years,
there's like a recency to it, almost.
Yeah,
like,
it just all of a sudden it kind of clicked in my head, and I told I interviewed with Pop Culture Kaboom, and I told them, as you know, at some point it clicked in me, I think in like late 2019, early 2020, when I started really getting back into the Aftermath series, when I decided I wanted to make a YouTube series out of it. And the decision was, I can't not do the idea that I had just because somebody else had the same idea and was already a grown adult and could execute on it. I was a teenager in high school, and there was like, no, there's no way I can do this. Whereas the band MCR, they're all grown adults with money. They were like, they had the same cool idea, and they're like, let's do this. I can't not do a cool idea because someone else beat me to it. Mm-hmm. So that's where we are now.
Okay, got it.
Right, and again, now that I've like kind of like watched it and everything like that, like it is very post-apocalyptic. Again, the way I would compare it to anything would be like, you know, it's kind of got like a Twisted Metal feel to it, but it also kind of has a Mad Max. You know, you are very much, as far as like the silent protagonist, because you know you have the thoughts that are going through your head and whatnot, with like the noir style dialogue that happens, but on screen you don't say much, so you're very much like a Max Rockatowski when it comes to like something like that.
That was actually, so at first the first couple episodes are all silent because we didn't really know, like me and two other friends that really didn't know how are we going to record audio, how are we going to record dialogue, what are we going to do with this. And so the first couple of rounds of like recording, you know, they're like minute 30-second videos, and we're like, let's just do it silent, like just kind of wing it. and then the Halloween special we did, which it's Halloween special, whatever. 3 minutes, and it's the first one that didn't have like completely silent audio. Like every video I'd done prior to that, all the like actual audio from the video was completely muted. Everything that you're hearing is completely manufactured in editing. And then the Halloween special is the first one that we actually used audio from the film footage. And you can hear like in little segments, because it was windy that day, you can kind of hear that like that horrible like kind of sound against the microphone on the iPhone. And it was the Halloween special was such a throwaway, just goofball idea that we were like, I don't even care. And it was, everyone who saw it thought it was just so much fun. And it was like, I don't have any, that was probably the most fun one I've done, because there was no like rules. It doesn't have anything to do really with the story. It's not canon. So it's just us goofing off. And I think that to this day, I think that's one of the best ones we did. Just the color grading was perfect. I'm now learning more about color grading. I'm looking back at that one going, damn, the color grading on that one was fantastic. The frame rate was perfect. The camera motion was exactly what I wanted. There's a few things that maybe we could have done differently or could have done better, but like overall, it was like, that's easily one of the best ones I think we did, was the silly Halloween special.
Right.
Sorry. The whole time you were talking, so I'm I do a lot of research on a lot of really random things, and like as you were talking, the things you were saying were really, really reminiscent of how like films and Hollywood and all that stuff, like the genesis of films in Hollywood, they started off as production companies out in Hollywood, just messing around, coming up with stories, playing with different things, experimenting, and they were silent movies. And so I'm really in right now. I've always been into like older classic movies, but I've recently gotten into like more like silent movies. And I read like books about it and stuff. But as you were talking, like that everything you were saying is very reminiscent of how the film industry began in the beginning. It's just a bunch of people, basically theater nerds out with a camera doing what theater nerds do, and putting it on camera and creating a business, creating an industry that, most people don't know what life was like before that. So I think that's kind of cool that that's still happening, I guess I should say.
Yeah, no, I'm humbled, because like that's, I don't do this. I don't want to make this like something that's like a giant money scheme. Like I like really, doing the show on YouTube and anyone can just watch it. I do it because it's fun. Like this is just this crazy story I want to tell. And we're cursed as creatives as always being our own worst critic. And there's a lot of like, I look back at everything I've done, and I still want to do one more production this year, and I don't think it's going to happen. Just, life happens, and I think, damn, I'm not doing enough. Like I'm not doing enough for this thing that I'm trying to build. And then I hear that and I'm like, okay, maybe you're doing actually pretty all right. Like I hear you guys talk about how you've watched the show, and if you can call it a show when the episodes are like 5 minutes is the longest one that's been out so far. But to have people that, receive it well, it reminds me like, okay, no, actually, maybe you're doing something right. Like maybe you're actually doing something here.
Absolutely.
So it's refreshing, because I'm like a lot of times sitting here going, damn, you're just not doing enough, man.
Yeah, I mean, and you're always going to be your own worst critic, man. I mean, you're always going to be most critical about anything that you do as a creative, because you always think, oh, I could have done better here. I could have done better doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always going to be genuine critiques and different things on there, but I mean, it's always it's a learning process no matter what, right?
Right.
You're always going to learn from everything that you do. You can look at something and say, oh, okay, I could have recorded this better. I could have done this line better. I could have done this thing better. But in the end, you're putting out a product, you're putting out something, and you're putting it out there for people to see. And that's daunting in itself.
It's daunting in itself, because you have a lot of this, what I've noticed over the years of building this this brand is you have a lot of this attitude of like, well, I don't want to do it until I have all the right stuff. I have all the right equipment. I have all this, all that. And it's like, yeah, how many years are going to go by that you don't do it? And
Right.
that was something that I really honed in on when I decided that I was going to do the short film finally, was because for the longest time I didn't do it. I mean, I had brought, there was a weird space where I did try to do the short film in the format of music videos. I was actually dabbling in being in a band, and the whole show was going to be like a series of music videos. And I didn't have none of the tech. It was like, I'd say 2015, 2016. And there weren't the apps on cell phones that you have now. Because I mean, I think we talked about this before at KaboomCon, is I film everything and edit everything from an iPhone.
Right.
So none of these apps were around in like 2015, 2016 to really do the level of editing and special effects from a mobile platform. And I just didn't have the expertise or anything to do it from a computer. Didn't even have a computer that would have like even remotely held up, you know, to do those effects and to do the editing softwares. So it was this thing of like, you know what, I can't do right now. Let me just put it on the back burner. And that's when it, you know, then we fast forward back to like, you know, late 2019, early 2020, where I was like, now I can do it because now it's all right here in my pocket. So why don't I just do it? Because now I can actually do exactly what I'm picturing in my head. And maybe it's not going to be the highest quality, but if I get the basics down for making a short film, then I'm building the foundation of something that can then maybe continue to grow.
Right. And that was one of the things I was going to bring up, is that you do everything on an iPhone, man. So I mean, just, you know, again, me and Jackie just went to the Grand Canyon, and
Mhm.
she's been learning techniques on like exposure and how to basically use an iPhone camera to
Mhm.
get, like, you know, like professional grade quality photos out of it, or techniques.
Mhm.
And it just kind of reminds me of that, like, you know, the things you can do with an iPhone. There are entire production companies that record film on an iPhone now. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I just heard that I think it's the sequel to 28 Days Later. It's 28 weeks or 28 years, whatever the newest one is.
It's 28 years later.
I just saw that it was completely filmed on an iPhone.
Yeah.
But it was retrofitted with DSLR, like like lenses. Like they made a rig to film it with iPhone, but rig the camera lenses to the iPhone. And it's like that's cool, because that's how up to date this technology is.
Yeah, I mean, you can do everything. There's entire music videos and filmmakers that do everything just on iPhones now.
It's insane. And I think the biggest one, like, so you guys have seen the little bits I've done on YouTube, is the very, very first one. It's called a trailer, because I didn't know what I was going to do. So I just made this like trailer thing. And that one, we didn't shoot it in cinematic standard, which is your 24 frames per second at 1080 pixels. We didn't shoot it in that. We shot it at 60 FPS in 4K. And I couldn't figure out why it didn't look right. And that was, I mean, that's just the learning curve. But it was like, it looked so crisp. It looked too smooth, when movies just aren't that smooth. And it was crazy to like think about. It's like, that's just how much, like, that's how much the phones can do.
Right.
And you can overdo it. And that's part of, I think, the joy is like figuring out the process. Like I was frustrated, and I'm still frustrated when I go back and watch that video, because I know exactly what's wrong with it. But it's also like, yeah, but you know what? It was part of the process. And I learned a ton from that, and then continue to move forward.
I was going to say, it was like that movie Collateral.
I'm not certain which one's that one. I'm so sorry. For being as into films as I am, there's still like, for every film I have seen, there's another 15 that I haven't.
So Collateral was Michael Mann.
Okay.
And it was Jamie Foxx and Tom Cruise. And basically,
it's ringing bells too.
And it was like one of the first movies filmed in 4K. And
Okay.
Yeah, and I remember when they first did it, like one of the genuine critiques on that movie is that everything is so realistic, and like the special effects kind of look chintzy because of how high quality the film is.
Yeah.
You know,
And
and it was like, again, it was one of those things where they were just first figuring out 4K, and he was the
Yeah.
first to say, all right, I'm going to film this whole thing in 4K.
I'm gonna film it all in 4K and just see what happens. And that's just, I mean, you gamble on that and you see how you as the creator like it, and then see how it's received, and just go from there. You just have to build from there.
So do you edit your own videos, or do you work with somebody, or do you have somebody else do it?
I do all of it, and I'm most times a absolute madman about it. If we don't film all night on a project, then I will spend the rest of that night after filming getting the first draft of editing done, just because like I have it in my head so much of what I want to see on the camera, on the screen, that I can't wait. And I start editing like the night after filming, or the
Wow.
night of filming, depending on when we stop filming. There was the trailer. That was the very, very first thing we had done, and there was like 6 or 7 of us, so we all did load up and go had pizza for the night. Like, yo, we just did something really cool. Let's go celebrate, and then started editing that next day. And that was also, again, that was the learning curve. That was the big test, was that one. So, but this last production that I did, I shouldn't say last. That was actually last year, last Halloween. But the 5-minute one, I started editing just the footage, no special effects, no sound effects, just the footage. I started editing that day because I wanted to get a foundation of what I want this to look like. And then I sat on it, watched it a couple times. You know, it has no audio, or has very little audio, no sound effects. You're just hearing us like do call outs, and maybe occasionally watching me like do a scene and look at the camera and go, got it? Because I had somebody filming for me that day.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's after that, once I get like the initial footage like compressed of what I want, of, you know, cut up in all the sections that I want, then I'll start going through and doing special effects, and then I'll go through and do audio stuff. And then sometimes I do either or, you know, there's no real order. The big one is just getting the footage all chopped up the way I want it, and then just kind of sitting on that for a couple of days and just kind of rewatching it and getting an idea of like, how do I like this? Do I want to change that? Do I want to change this? Maybe I need like 5 more seconds of that clip before it transitions to the next clip. Like, it's a lot of that, sitting there and rewatching it and watching it like seconds at a time, doing this, going 1 second, 2 seconds, pushing it back, watching the transition from one scene to the next, and going, I think I need like 2 seconds of that frame before it transitions. It's insane, but it's so much fun. Once you actually get it, it's so much fun.
Yeah. I guess I'd be interested to hear more about, you said special effects. How do you, I think, can you tell us more about like how you add special effects to your videos on an iPhone?
I love sharing this because I feel like it's such an underappreciated way of doing it. I use a combination of 2 apps. One is for all the video editing itself, and then one for just the blaster effect, just the laser bolt effect. Because I don't do a ton of special effects. I just need like the nitty gritty, which is the laser blast effects and some smoke effects from like the tip of the gun, or from like the character who just got shot. And I use Warble. Warble is this old app that was made to add moving effects to a still image, and you can get these effects packs that are on Warble that are laser bolt effects and spark effects and explosion effects, and they're all like under this like Star Wars like effect kind of package. And I just would overlay that on a black background, and then export that, and then overlay it onto my video footage, and then there's like a filter in the video editing app that cuts out, basically like dims all the darks and only brings out the light colors. So the laser bolt effect comes through, but none of the black background does. And so I'm just putting that filter over this stupid video clip of this laser bolt effect, and then just overlaying it over the video footage. And Warble, the package that I got, also had different angles of the stupid laser bolt. So you'd have one that was like straight across the screen. Then you'd have one that was shooting kind of like out of the corner and into the distance, so it has like some dimension to it. And so it's just like sitting there playing with these stupid laser bolt effects that are made for like a flattened compressed image, just overlaying these video laser bolt effects and then just importing them on a black background into the video editing software, the video editing app. And it works. You would never know how I was doing that special effect. I made a video when I first learned how to do it, showing people how to do it, and I watched the views go nowhere on YouTube because it was like a 15-minute video of me explaining, like basically video recording, screen recording the whole thing of like showing you how to do this. And I finally took it down because I was like, you know what? I don't care. If somebody asks me, then I'll tell them how I did it. But nobody's watching this 15-minute video, screen recording of me tediously inserting blaster laser bolts onto this video footage. It's insane. But I think it's such a easy effect for something of what I'm doing. You know, the story is set literally next year. Like it's such a parallel universe story that if the world had fallen apart in 2012, then this is where we would be next year
instead of 2020.
Yeah. So it's this idea that like everything's still modern, you know, everything is still very much lived in. You know, if you have this apocalypse, this not even apocalypse, like this, I can't even call it post-apocalypse, like this just like Civil War torn world, what would it look like? Well, people still would have jobs and would still need to go to work and pay their bills. There's still cars on the road. And these are things that I was like paranoid about the first couple times I filmed and saw cars, you know, on the freeway off to the side from the main focus of the screen and being like, damn, like I was really trying to not get cars on the freeway in the shot. But then I thought, I was like, you know what though? It plays to the whole story a little bit. Like I have to avoid that still as much as possible. So it's not like too much. But having a little bit of it, it still gives the impression of like, this is a world that's still very lived in. It's still very modern. It's, you know, the only thing that makes it sci-fi, if you will, is really that they have laser guns. And, but I wanted the laser guns. Like I designed entire interiors for these things and like a whole story for them because I wanted it to feel like, like these are laser guns, but like they make sense with a little bit of theoretical science and maybe some pseudoscience. Like they make sense that they would actually exist.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to what they do. Not exact. It's similar to what they do in Man in the High Castle.
Do you know what? I keep scrolling past that on whichever streaming service it's on.
It's on Prime. We started watching it. I wouldn't say I finished it. I don't know if they're still making it, but the basis of it is if the opposite. So World War II happened in the end.
Axis powers would have won.
Yes, the Axis powers would have won. So, and the reason why I say that is because
watch all these shows.
You can't.
No, I need to do myself the favor of watching all these shows. It's for every show and movie that I have seen, there's like 15,000 more that I haven't.
That one's interesting just to see, because like you were saying, like there are things in that show that even though it happens, like I think it happens, but like it takes place in the 50s and the 60s. Mm-hmm. So like a lot of the cars are still the same, the houses are still the same, the clothing is still the same, but Japan has taken over San Francisco and Germany has taken over, you know, the East Coast, and they sort of share the U.S. And so
there's a Cold War between Japan and Germany over the control over the U.S.
Yes. So, but not to like get like down deep into that, but it's similar where like a lot of the clothes, the cars, the stuff around are things that existed. Mm-hmm. But the setting in the setting is just different. Yeah.
And there was a decision when I was trying, because I had a lot of people that started, you know, once they started watching, I had friends that would be like, well, what if you did this? And, so it's kind of steampunk. So like everybody has their opinions of it and they start having ideas. They want to share their ideas with you because like, oh, you do this thing. Well, I have this cool idea. And it's like, you have to take everything with a grain of salt and listen to it and be like, yeah, but also still be very much like, look, that's just not the story I'm telling though either. Yeah. So the big one is, I'm talking about how this is supposed to be set very much in like real life, and it's set in modern day. And then people ask me like, why are the outfits like kind of not real though? Like all the villains wear this like very simple, like black on black outfit with like a tactical vest and a creepy smiley face mask. Like no part of that really vibes with the whole, modern day kind of story. And I was like, you're right, because if I told too much, if the visual was too much of a like modern war story, modern Civil War, Revolutionary War story, then it'd be just another action flick. And the choice for the outfits still needed to be, I wouldn't even call it sci-fi, very just comic book kind of punk. Like it has this vibe to it that's like,
it's like a uniform.
It's very much like the villains, and all the villains are very cookie cutter of like how they look. And I went outside the bounds of that with the Halloween one, and with the video prior to that, the black and white one. Whereas like it would make sense though that not all the villains have this outfit. Like as much as I would love to, and that's something that would have to happen, as I got bigger budget and had more time to play with. Those are things that would be able to happen where I could have all the villains looking like something straight out of a comic, where they all are in this black on black outfit that looks very tactical, but also very comic booky and like, 80s kind of like 1984 propagandist kind of looking. And then the hero characters, like my characters, ridiculous, like these knee-high boots, a Mandalorian knee plate on one knee, and this weird punk rock jacket with a popped collar and a red bandana with war paint and this god-awful friggin' 2000s emo haircut. But it gives it this like comic book kind of feel. And that's always what I wanted. It was like, I don't want it to be too rooted in like realism that it just blends in as another, action flick with laser guns. I wanted to feel like it has something that's like interesting and catches the eye. Like, why the hell does the hero look like that? Why? Because it just catches the eye. It's more fun to me. It's just more fun that way. Like I could absolutely just put on some normal, steel toe boots and some normal clothes and a normal jacket, and yeah, that's cool. But something sticks out. It goes back to like, what you were saying, Phil, is the Max Rockatansky. He has a very specific uniform.
Right.
And granted, that's 79. That's a long time ago. And the outfits were a little more outrageous in that era. But it's still there's an iconicism to that I felt like needs to stick with this story. There needs to be these characters that have a very specific look that captures the eye.
Right, because it is a very Mad Max kind of like the way that everything kind of looks.
Mm-hmm.
It's very Mad Max, and that's kind of like what I likened it to, was like, okay, so this is like, or at least the feeling of it so far, and the reveals that we've gotten so far, it feels.
Go ahead. I'm so sorry.
I was gonna say no. It feels very much like a Mad Max, but in the United States, which is a story that a lot of people complain about, that they want to see. Okay, we know what's happening in Australia. Like, why have we not gotten a story in the United States about like in the same universe? Well, one, because Romero doesn't have to do a film in the United States. It takes place in Australia because he's Australian. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like, like there are a lot of people who say, "Oh, I want to know what was happening in the United States during this time." So this, not that it does live in this universe, but I mean, it kind of gives it
scratches that itch,
right? Like it satiates that want for that kind of thing, because it's something that is kind of lived in that universe. But again, from the way you're describing it, it's very different, but at the same time, something that could kind of give you that scratch that itch.
I wanted some. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say you film in Nevada, right?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of because I still just don't know stuff, and there's a lot of people that just don't know what all is out here to go and utilize for filming. And then I start just kind of driving around and finding places, and I'm like, oh, that's actually a really good spot. But what's difficult also is because of the set in, modern era, it can't be all just wide open deserts. It can't just be ghost towns, like, you know, it can't be dilapidated Western, you know, ghost towns. It has to, there's some scenes that really do need to be like in a modern place, in a modern setting. And that's difficult. Because then it's a lot of asking for permission to film here and like, what's it going to cost? You know, I got really lucky with the last production I did. It's a local like college bar, and I just popped in and asked about filming there, and they were like, yeah, you can use our back bar area and you can come in before hours, before we open, and you guys can film back there. And the owner said rent, and I said, oh, so you said rent, how much is that going to cost? And she was straight up like, oh no, like buy food the 2 days you're filming, after, you know, when we open and you guys are done filming, buy food. And so that was the payment, and it was like, cool, food. I got breakfast from one of my favorite, you know, bar and grills in town, and I got to film here. So that worked out. But it's I shouldn't say difficult. It is difficult. If it was easy, everyone would do it. But it's interesting trying to find places that fit the vibe. I wouldn't say perfect, but pretty good, for the sake of the story. Because we need it to be like modern. It has to be like it's lived in, it's real. It's not a set. It's not a movie set. It's not fake.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. I was just clearing my throat.
Oh, good.
So I guess I'd just be interested in like, are there any other than it sounds like it's kind of difficult to find places to film, like you said, that were modern. So other than what other like challenges or road bumps do you run into when you're filming projects in Nevada?
Not based on the region, but this is, I think, just you're never going to avoid this, is getting people. You know, when you're an independent filmmaker trying to just create a story, you're constantly trying to ask your friends on the weekends, you know, hey, can you come help me film this thing? And when it gets to productions where I need a lot of people, it gets really difficult of like, we got to work with everybody's schedules. Like, what's a weekend that I can get everybody? And, you know, there's also a factor of like, we need money. Like, and I don't have the money to be doling out for, let's say, 10 people for a film project. So it's very difficult to get people to really, you know, invest in it, if you will, when they know that, yeah, there's gonna be waters and food supplied because we're gonna hang out and we're gonna have a good time afterwards. But there's no incentive to like pay for it. There's something that I notice, and I'm not mad about it. You have to be understanding of it as an independent filmmaker starting something brand new, is you're doing something brand new. So people don't have like faith in it right away. Mm-hmm. So when you're asking them to come stand in and play this, you know, character, it's hard for them to wrap their head around because they just don't like, oh, I don't get it. Like, I guess I can come help this thing. Whereas if I made the announcement recently, I was going to go ahead and like actually start maybe playing around with doing a Star Wars fan film finally. And that gets everybody's attention because like there's insurance, if you will, or there's assurance in that it's like, it's a Star Wars fan film. Like, it'll look cool and people can get behind it. You tell them you're doing a short film series about this story that you're writing, and they get a little uneasy, like, oh, well, I don't know if it's going to do any good. I would attribute it to being James Earl Jones not wanting to be credited for Darth Vader's voice in the original Star Wars, because he was like, yeah, this is going to be a flop. Nobody's going to give a shit about this movie. And then all of a sudden it popped off, and he went, whoa, wait a minute. Yeah, no, Darth Vader's me. So it's kind of similar to that. Like, when you're doing something brand new, people don't have a lot of vested interest in it. So they're kind of like, I don't know if I want to take a gamble on this. I don't really know. You know, I got stuff going on this weekend. I don't really know if I want to come stand around with a toy gun and pretend to shoot each other with it. But I think that's the only two like hurdles that you really face is, I mean, in the actual filming space, is the getting people to play these characters and finding locations. For me personally, I'm horrible about writing. So I know exactly what I have going on in here. I could tell the whole story. I could sit here and watch the movie with my eyes shut and just like, oh, I can see it all. But actually sitting down and writing this stuff down, like the production at the bar, the little bar fight scene, I did a shot list of exactly what I wanted as far as the shots go, and I had the dialogue written down, and that was it. I didn't write anything else because it's like I know what I want to do. Here's my shot list of what scenes I want to shoot. Once I read that one sentence of what it is, then I'll know exactly what it is, and we can shoot it. I am slowly but surely getting better at actually sitting down and writing the story and writing these things, and even looking up and doing my research of like what are some things that filmmakers look for when they're building a story. And one of them, I can't recite it right now. I wrote it down because I knew I'd forget, but it was this like 6 W's kind of thing of like, who is the main character? What does he want? Oh man, why can't he get it? What does he do about it? And there's like another one in between then, and then the last one is how does it end? Mm-hmm. And I had never thought about that before. It's like, if I can answer those questions, and the videos that I was watching of these filmmakers talking about it, we're saying like, if you can answer those questions, then you have your foundation for your story. And
what's your MacGuffin?
What's that?
So what's your MacGuffin?
Yeah. So it's me having to just be better about like, sit down and write this down and write this story, because I know exactly what the story is. I know exactly how I want the story to go. But if I don't sit down and write this stuff down, then I can't start getting more ideas and start filling in the blanks. I even at one point knew how I wanted this to end, and I have no idea how I want it to end now. But at one point, I knew how I wanted it to end. And
sometimes it's hard that the way that I, for myself, the way that I experience, because I write stories because I don't know what else to do with the. Again, I understand what you mean by like you see things play in your head, because I'm very similar. I see it all play in my head, and I recently realized, not recent. When I say recently, I mean the last 6 years. I'm like, I just have to write
recent
this
enough.
out.
Recent
like,
enough.
I have no idea what I'm gonna do with it, but I just need to write it out. But now I'm getting to the point where like I'm actually like creating these stories, and I'm realizing that, I have like this part and this part of this story, but like how do I connect them? How do I make it like cohesive?
Right.
And like, what additional research do I need to do on like for the particular story I'm working on right now is I have to do a bunch of research on trains and the circus. So, but anyway, but like you were saying, just like writing them down so that you can, it probably will help. It probably helps you connect all the different stuff together.
Yeah, and it's because I can have all these because the biggest thing that I struggle with is like I have an image in head of like what I want to see. So then it's going, okay, how do I fit that into a story? How do I start building this? And that's where I'm really bad about not writing things down. And that's when I start. So I'll have like these like scenes that I definitely want. And then it's like, okay, but like, how am I going to loop that in? Like, I want this, but how am I going to do it like to make it actually cohesive? And the original plan for the bar fight scene was to have that actually, I think, completely different. I'm drawing a blank now, but I had written down like the bullet points of like the first episode, this bar fight episode. I had written it down like in the bullet points, maybe 3 or 4 different times in different ways of how it was going to be. Dogs are playing, I'm getting all loud. Got rat dogs, and of course everybody's home now, so now they're all like, we can play now. But it's I have to, I mean, at the end all be all is like, I'm just getting better at actually writing down and filling in these gaps between between the scenes in my head of like, okay, I like this and I like this. I need to now fill in these gaps with actual story. And then also writing dialogue. Like I think my Achilles heel is 100% trying to write dialogue. I wrote down what I wanted to be said for the bar fight episode. But when I told the couple of friends who had dialogue, when I told them the dialogue, I was like, please say it how you would say it. Because, yeah, you can say it and read off a script, but you guys also are like not actors. So, you're not going to read off the script and be exact and it sound good. So I was like, read it how you would read it and say it how you would say it. And unfortunately, I have a friend who the one who gets his head put against the table, his dialogue is completely dubbed over because he didn't want to use his voice. So having a real James Earl Jones moment here, but he didn't want to use his actual voice, so he's actually dubbed over. And I tell him all the time, I was like, dude, I really wish you would have let me use the version that has your voice, because like you nailed it so well. Like there's just something about your, like the way you said it and everything. And I can never, unless he all of a sudden decides, show him. I can't ever show that to people because like I love that version so much with his voice.
Yeah, and the ADR is very, very obvious in that scene. I know exactly what scene you're talking about.
What is ADR?
I was gonna say I'm stupid. I'm gonna ask.
Automated dialogue replacement. So that's when
yeah,
you audio over a scene.
And I really tried. That was the first time I've done anything like that. So I really, really tried to like mesh that audio in there as much as I could. But, and this is part of that learning curve, was we were using the iPhone microphone for the dialogue in that. So you have the audio of us speaking, but then you also have the ambient sound from just that room.
Right.
And then you go to try to dub over a new voice, and it doesn't have that like ambient sound around it. And it's like trying to mesh it and trying to like, I'm putting like other little like special effects audio like layers in there to try to make it sound like it's still there. And I have a handful of friends who've watched it who are like, dude, I would not have known that was dubbed over if you hadn't told me. But people who like actually know stuffs about filmmaking and audio and everything, they hear it and go, that's not real. Like it's real, but it's not coming from that guy. So
I was trying to figure out if it was you that did the ADR.
I love that, but also like I have such a love-hate relationship with that because that was 100% not me. That was actually a friend of mine from freaking Alabama who sent me the voice audio over Instagram. Oh, wow. And I didn't think about it until I plugged his voice in, and then all of a sudden I heard it and I was like, oh, son of a bitch, that kind of sounds like me. Oh well. And then even my best friend of 14 years watched it and was like, sounds like you. I'm like, yeah. It is what it is. I don't know what to tell you. My best friend of 14 years is the one who did the character. Oh no, I'm at 20% battery.
Oh no.
Shucks. That's okay. I think I can switch to my AirPods, but it's gonna be kind of a playing around here for a second. I can still talk, but we'll see what happens here. I'm gonna have to play around some cables and headphones.
I think I have I have an easy, maybe an easy question for you
absolutely.
to talk about while you're doing that. Is this, I can't think, this probably is a really like fancy way of saying it, but I hope you understand what I mean by this. But I guess I'm kind of interested, like, how do you do like your casting calls? It sounds like you ask friends, but like, do you use any platforms? Do you do like, what other than asking people to meet you at a undisclosed location somewhere in northern Nevada or Nevada? How do you get people to come out and be in your movies?
Give me 1 second to switch headphones and I will answer that.
Okay.
Come on, switch the headphones. It's not going to switch my headphones. We're going to be that pain in the butt.
Oh no!
It won't. Come on. This is what I get. It's working now? It's not working. Well, all right. I'm going to have to just plug in my phone and it'll just be iPhone audio, unfortunately.
It actually sounds, sounds fine.
The thing that I was worried about was when I went to go do this earlier, I was plugged into my room and I kept losing connection. But we'll see what happens. Let's see how this goes. So prior, obviously, I was mentioning that I was asking friends. I've only recently joined a Facebook group that is like Northern Nevada filmmakers and actors. And I'm going to start, when it comes to the time to actually like be trying to get people again for production, I'll start putting those feelers out in that group, because it has always been just like getting on Facebook or individually contacting my friends and being like, hey guys, do you want to do a film project? I don't need people to go stand in the middle of the desert with a toy gun and a smiley face mask and play pretend. So that'll change for future projects, thankfully.
I mean, if I were closer, and not that it's only a 2-hour drive for me, but I mean, I'd be totally down, man.
And I think that's also part of it. Is like, you know, the more I do this, the more people I meet. You know, meeting you guys, I start finding more people that really are into this and want to partake. And that's just, I think, the name of the game is just like I start networking more, start meeting people more, and then it just keeps growing from there.
Yeah, because if you haven't gotten a chance to watch the film we did, just on YouTube, look up Deadpool vs. John Wick, and there you go.
Yeah, you showed it to me after KaboomCon.
Yeah, so I mean, like we had a crap ton of fun doing that, man, and it's just
no, I think we watched the entire thing after KaboomCon that day, and it was awesome.
I appreciate that.
No, me, girlfriend and I both were watching it going, this is so much fun. Like, I love this.
And that entire film was all ADR. Like, I mean, so we went in and did a ADR day and recorded everything.
I would have never known that. Like, honest to God, like when we were sitting there watching it, I would have never known that was all ADR.
Yeah, and I mean, mostly because so I played second. I mean, I was also second AD for the film itself. So, basically, you know, I directed like 2 or 3 scenes in the movie, but it was more so when we started doing voice direction and everything like that. I was like, well, it sounds muffled when you know my face under a mask the entire time.
Right.
So we should go in and ADR this entire thing. And he was like, that's actually a good idea. And it's worth doing because you end up, the audio sounds cleaner and crisper that way.
Right.
And then there were scenes that, you know, the audio didn't come out right and things like that. So obviously I have an entire studio in my home. So I ended up recording scenes, entire scenes in there. You would with
Is that what you have under that mess in that office?
Yeah, pretty much. I end up recording scenes here, and the way he edited it into the film, you would have never been able to tell that I recorded in a separate place than where he recorded the original audio.
No, that's so cool, and that's just like that. I mean, that's in essence, that's the movie magic. Like that's the fun part. No, I thoroughly enjoy what I'm doing, and I really enjoy building this, you know, crazy story. It's just, you know, there's hurdles that you're going to face. And I think I said something a little bit earlier that I look back to this all the time. I refer back to this all the time is if it was easy, then everyone would do it.
Right.
Like I have friends who, you know, have talked a long time about wanting to do this or this crazy idea or this crazy project. And I have to tell them all the time, it's like, you need to go do it. I don't care. And it's like the same thing. Like, oh, well, when I get this, you know, this setup, then I can start doing it. And it's like, okay, but like how many more years go by before you do it? Because you need this perfect setup.
Right.
And it's like go ahead.
Sorry. I just wanted to let Philippe know that our boss has entered the chat to cause trouble.
Oh God.
Oh.
He always has good questions though. I'll give him that. James always has good questions.
Hey, I'm here for good questions.
James in the chat, who is our boss, he's on the distance nerding jet as we speak. How do you get inspiration for your project? But I feel like you already kind of went over that in the beginning.
I'll touch back on it because like I honestly like to me it's like there's no secret to success, which means like there's no secret to what I'm doing. There's no secrets to like how I'm building the story. Like I right out the gate with this expressed that, you know, the gun prop is a variant of the ray gun from My Chemical Romance's Danger Days music videos. Like there's no secrets here. There's obvious like inspirations. And I do that specifically because I want people to connect with it, that they see these elements that they recognize and go, wait a minute, I know what the hell that is. There's a reason why my character is wearing a Mandalorian knee plate. I want someone to see that and go, oh, that's a nice little throw in. So it's like there's the inspiration is everything kind of around me. And I used to be really bad about that, but the inspiration was everything around me. So it was like I would take elements from real life, whatever, goofy, crazy thing had happened, and had included that into the story. And this was when I was like writing it back in like high school. So it's a little bit, a little bit different. But that had to change. It was like I can't be influenced by everything around me. So then it became, well, what are some things that I'm really passionate about? I really love Star Wars. I love this prop gun. And when I first started actually rebuilding and starting to doing the project, I didn't have the ray gun, the Danger Days-ish ray gun, because mine technically is not the same. Like in legalese, it's like 80% different from the original Danger Days prop. So it's not the same. It's kind of the same, but it's not the same. And
Inspired.
So it was like it's inspired by, and it's also like, and I'll get into deeper detail about the gun, because like the gun is like its own identity in and of itself. And I kind of like, I like that about the short film, is that the gun has an identity all by itself. But the inspiration is like, I want to tell a story that is all these things I grew up with. We keep mentioning Mad Max, the original 1979 Mad Max. That's like kind of goofy, where they like stole stuff to have on the set for some of the scenes and then put it back the next day after they filmed the shot. Like that movie, the vibe and the look of that movie, and even like the audio when it comes to dialogue, is something that I wanted to not, take inspiration from. And so the audio, I don't want there to be a shit ton of dialogue. I want it to be, I think George Miller said something about this with the Fury Road movie, with Mad Max Fury Road, is that like, I don't want there to be a ton of dialogue, because I want anyone watching this in any country to understand what's going on, that they don't need to hear the words to know what's going on. And so I think a lot about that, of like, I don't need to say everything. This is the story. Just watch it. It's something I tell my 5-year-old niece all the time. It's like, stop asking questions, just watch the movie.
Mhm.
So it's you don't have to have the dialogue. And then the Star Wars things, like I don't want to have too much Star Wars, because I want to keep the story separate from Star Wars as much as I can. I have a lot of people who started following me when I was doing the Stormtrooper, that then they find out about the short film and they start asking a bunch of Star Wars questions. It's like, it's not a Star Wars thing. And then they like watch some more, and I tell them that also, and they go, oh, it's like really not a Star Wars thing. It's like, yeah, no, not even close. So like, it's going to have those little nods. I've mentioned over and over again, throwing my helmet in the back seat of my car for a scene. So you kind of see it just kind of chilling in the back seat, maybe under a blanket, as just like a nice little Easter egg for all the people who have been following me since I started making content and being the Infamous Rebel, just for them. But I can't take too much inspiration from Star Wars. I think the biggest one really is the biggest two is really the Mad Max world. I lean towards the 1979 Mad Max, but all of it is really good. And then the MCR Danger Days, like, anyone who looks at the characters in the show can draw the comparisons. And no, it's not supposed to be the same. Like I stated earlier, I was already writing this story in high school, and then the Danger Days music videos came out. It's not my fault that they had a great idea at the same time that I had a great idea, and they were already adults and could execute on it. I'm just not going to not tell the story because they had a good idea and were able to execute on it. So there's these parallels. And the fun part with that is I have people who specifically recognize the gun and then go, wait, is this like a Danger Days thing? And then when I explain to them, no, they still don't care. And they watch it and go, this is what I wish Danger Days would have continued to be.
Did you, this is going to sound super random.
No,
Are there any other mediums other than film that you tried and failed before you settled on film? And like videoing it on
music.
your iPhone? Music. Like writing songs or playing?
So I'm starting to break up. I knew this was going to happen.
You're breaking up with me.
It's like I can hear you guys for a second. I swear it's because I'm in my room. This is exactly what it is. My room is like a little freaking echo chamber. It's ridiculous. I wonder if I can plug in somewhere else and see what this does. I'm so sorry. So if we went back in time to when I started doing this, the idea was very much that this was going to be music videos. The whole short film was going to be a series of music videos set in the same time, but I was in a local band. I had started a band, and the name was it was actually a reverse of what the show name is. It was The Infamous Ones, and the EP name was going to be Aftermath. And this is to echo something that I've heard Brendan Urie from Panic! At the Disco say: finding people who will dedicate to a like post-hardcore metal band is nearly impossible. And that was my experience, was trying to do something that not only had like a theme to it, it's this music videos that are telling a story, and the sound is a post-hardcore metalcore kind of vibe. It doesn't grab a lot of attention. And I finally got to a point where I was like, I'm so tired of trying to build a band, and I'm so tired of not really getting anywhere with it. And then I got to a point also that I was like, I'm enjoying the visual aspect of this so much more. I'll just keep doing visual and not do the music. I don't feel as attached to the music. I feel more attached to the visual.
That makes sense to me.
So now my next question has to be, where's the music? Because dude, I'm a big post metalcore fan, so I mean, like, I want to hear it.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Not bad, huh?
There was the story with this actually, because I still have all the songs. I still sing in the car and do all the screams and everything to all my favorite songs because I still enjoy it very much. But we recorded the title track for the Aftermath EP with a local guy, and this was back in 2016, maybe 2015, one of those 2 years. I know it's like I try to like keep track of the timeline, and I can't. But it was in 2015, 2016, and we spent like a week in this dude's like storage space. Spent like a week in this guy's storage unit trying to record this song. And he didn't, like, with all due respect to him, he just didn't know what he was doing. So when we finally had the recording, we listened to it and was like, this is not a post-hardcore song, because the production was just not there. And it was really bad. I still have the song itself on my phone, but I scrubbed it from, at least I hope to God, I scrubbed it from the internet because it was released via Bandcamp. It was on iTunes. I asked Bandcamp to remove it. They said, yep, we'll remove it. And if it got removed, it got removed. If it didn't, it's still out there. And for the love of God, don't listen to it. I hate it. It's the only project I've done that I actually can say I hate.
Okay.
It's bad. It's so bad.
One more time. What was the name of the band?
No.
I'm about to see if it really got scrubbed, man.
It's literally, it is the name of the show it's the reverse of the name of the show. Instead of being, the show is called Aftermath, The Infamous Ones, it's the reverse. The Infamous Ones, and the track was called Raise the Flag. And I hate it. I hate it so much. Because it would have had such a I think back to it. I still read the lyrics and I like go through the BPM and I'm like paying attention to it, looking at it. And I'm like, this could still be really cool, but I'm never going to revisit it. I don't have the patience for it. I've thought about on occasion maybe trying to turn it into something that's like a kind of like a house mix, has some like kind of techno beats to it, but then has the vocals in it, because I can do all the vocals still and mix all the vocals. But I just don't. I have more interest invested in the film and prop making than I do ever in that project ever again.
Oh God. Okay, dude. I am about to ruin your night.
I'll shut this off. Don't you start. That's how bad it is. I know how bad it is, and I hate it.
I found it.
I hate you for that.
Really?
It's so bad.
I will
Bill
listen to
thinks
it later.
he's
I will
cute,
listen
but he's
to it
really
later.
annoying, actually.
I will listen to it later, and I'll give you an
It's-
actual critique. I won't put it on the internet like that, man. Well, I mean, it's on the internet, but I won't put it.
It's so bad, and I can't stand it because like I know where it could have been better. There's even like the guitarist that I was friends with that had done all the guitar riffs for it, and had done the guitar solo. Like he did a really cool guitar solo for it. But the guy who did the freaking mixing and mastering of this song, he just botched it so bad. If you listen to it quietly, because all of a sudden the solo kicks in and it's like so much higher than the rest of the audio on the song that it just all of a sudden is just like in your ear, and it's ridiculous.
Do you
It's
still
so
have
bad.
the masters for it?
What's that?
Do you still have the masters for it?
Maybe wave format file, maybe in a Dropbox folder somewhere.
Okay, I don't know soccer terms, but I'm pulling a card on you guys. I'm gonna get us back on track with
No
more
worries.
important, less antagonistic.
No. I
type
was gonna say
thing.
just on the side note, I'm a recording engineer, man. That's why I'm saying. That's why I'm asking if you have the masters, because maybe I can make a mix down that sounds better for you.
I
Okay.
kept going. So the thing is that because this is totally fine. I enjoy this a lot because to me it's the freaking origin story of how all this came together.
Mhm.
I kept redoing all the vocal tracks for that song, so I
Okay.
still have them on because I was always recording them on GarageBand. So I have all the vocal tracks. I had other songs even that I have all the vocal tracks for. And I just have never done anything with them. I know I have the wave files for at least one of the songs in a Dropbox folder. I think I could be mistaken. If not, I know I have them in GarageBand because I just never deleted the crap. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll come back to this.
Right.
Probably not, but maybe. So I know I have all of everything because I actually started playing with mixing and doing the vocal tracking and audio myself. And was getting to a place that I was like, I kind of like this. Like, this isn't exactly, because I'm not a professional. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But, like, this is starting to sound like the vocals of a rock band. Like, this is actually starting to sound like it. And, again, it's one of those things, like, I could maybe get back into it. But also, I don't know. It's one of those weird things. I think especially now, I think about specifically just the scream vocals. Because I've refined how to do it and how to do it well and not being, painful on my voice and painful in my throat. If I think about going back and doing those vocal tracks all the time, just because I know they scratched such a good itch that it was like, ooh, if I redid those, I know how much I'd enjoy that. But I gotta get out of that.
Yeah, we'll talk about this off screen. Just kind of
I'm
like
totally down. I'm totally down with talking about it and maybe doing stuff with it. I don't know. I'll give you a hard maybe on that one.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking like, because if I can engineer it in a way where you're just like, oh yeah, this doesn't sound that bad, maybe you might want to make music again. But hey,
Maybe.
that's something else. That's something else completely. So we're gonna
We're gonna
jump,
derail.
right. We're actually gonna jump into some of these wrap up questions here.
Absolutely.
Just because we're starting to get to the end of the show here, so let's go ahead and jump into these wrap up questions, and then we'll be good to go here. So. You've been asked this before. I asked this to you before, so I'm gonna ask it again though for a different audience. I'm gonna ask you the hardest question that I have on my repertoire here, if you remember what it was.
Yes.
Yep. What is your favorite kind of taco?
Ooh. All right, my sister-in-law makes some really great, this is sacrilegious, turkey meat tacos.
It's not sacrilegious. We make them all the time.
Oh my God.
Hispanic.
I cannot, I walked in the house yesterday after getting off work. It's like, you cooking tacos? You cooking turkey meat tacos? She's like, like, I can smell it. Like, it's just got such a different smell being turkey meat that I'm just like, and like, literally, it wasn't even for me. It was for my brother and my sister-in-law, but they left one sitting out because it was just going to go in the trash because they were full and didn't eat it. Guess who ate it? Me.
Nice.
Oh, so good.
What do you put on them? Just
So if I'm doing like taco, because I love Mexican food.
Like, I'm not good with spicy food on a lot, as it turns out, but makes sense. But I love Mexican food, and when my parents do like taco night kind of stuff, it's like I want sour cream, I want lettuce, I want cilantro, I
White
want
people
onion,
taco night.
I want all of the stuff. I want all of the stuffs in that taco.
I dig it. James asking, are there good tacos in Nevada?
It depends on who you ask. It depends on where you go. I have lately really grown fond of Rivas. Not everybody shares that opinion, but I really enjoy Rivas. There's another place that's kind of heading towards downtown. It's called, I think it's Roberto's. They're really good. There's another like little hole in the wall Mexican food joint that I can't think of what the hell the name is, but I've been there like once or twice with a friend of mine, and we got the like burritos, and I took a picture and sent it to my Mexican friend of this burrito that was as big as my forearm, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Getting a burrito." And he was like, "Dude, that's gonna kill you. You know you're white. You know you're white, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm so here for it."
Dude, you know you're white, right? So what might be some advice you might have for somebody trying to get into the film industry or indie filmmaking, or even just prop making, or trying to start a rock band?
God, I had to throw that one out there. I mean, it really is like, it's the Shia LaBeouf. Like, just go do it. Like, really. I mean, when it comes to filmmaking, make your mistakes. You have a device in your pocket. You're watching us right now on this device that has access to all the information of the free world. And go research. Say, friggin' download the Chat GPT app or whatever the frick it's called, and just ask it, how should I make a movie on an iPhone? Or how should I make movies on a smartphone? Whatever. And see what it tells you. And just research. What are the basics for filmmaking? I have learned everything I've learned from the internet. I didn't just wake up one day and magically know how to do this. I Googled it. It was as simple as that. Of just like, I could just look this up and just doing it. So just don't be afraid, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Like, go out and film something, and then if you don't like it, then go out and try again and learn some stuff on how you can make it better. When it comes to prop making, actually, you know what? Let's go that medium. Prop making and cosplay, because this one aggravates me, but also like it also is refreshing to see people that want to be told the truth. Don't be afraid to try things, but also ask for feedback. The amount of people that there are that don't want to tell someone, hey, that kind of looks like shit, is a lot. And you don't have to say it that way. You don't have to be an asshole, but don't fib. If you make something and you're like really proud of it because it was your first thing, you should be proud of it. It was your very first thing. But also, if you get feedback that's like, I think you could do better, or I don't know, man, it doesn't look that great, then maybe take that as, oh, you know what? I could do better. There's always something that you can learn to make whatever it is that you're doing better. You're a constant work in progress. And I know that's like a thing people don't like, of like, oh no, I'm perfect, or I'm fine the way that I am. It's like, no, you are always going to be a work in progress. And when it comes to your prop making, your cosplay, and your filmmaking, and your music, and your bands, you're a work in progress. You need to make sure you take criticisms, and you need to make sure that you constantly look for ways to make your stuff better. If you ever get to a point where you're looking at what you do and you go, nope, this is good, this is perfect, then you need to keep doing. You need to find another thing to go do then, because you need to keep honing your skills. You shouldn't, to me, and this is maybe my curse, of like, I don't want to get to a point that I'm happy with it, because then I stop doing it. I want to always be chasing after it and finding ways to make it better.
That is great advice.
I feel like that's a controversial take, but like, really,
it's not that controversial. It's actually something that every creative should hear. Because I mean, you should never settle for any of your work. I mean, it's always a work in progress. It's always trying to find, and it's really just any artist will tell you whatever ends up out in the wild, like what ends up being the final version, isn't always the final version. It's just the version that you were satisfied enough with to share with people.
Yeah.
You know, you look at George Lucas is a great example. We've been talking about Star Wars.
Oh
The
my
man
God.
has
Yeah.
revived Star Wars how many times?
Right.
You know, and because he has, you know, it's never what he wants it to be. You know, but I mean, you know, you're always going to be your worst critic, and which has been a theme the entire show tonight. So.
And it's, you know, go George Lucas, Walt Disney with when it comes to Disneyland. Disneyland will never be finished for as long as there's imagination in the world. Like, I don't know if that's the exact quote, but it's of the same vein of that. And that's the truth of it. Like
Right.
your love project, your passion projects should never be finished because your imagination is always gonna be cooking. Your imagination should always be coming up with new stuff. So
Right.
it should never be finished. And I got really on a soapbox there for a second about the whole improvement and getting feedback. When I started doing the trooper thing and it was popping off on TikTok, being in full costume in the trooper getup and doing TikTok lives, talking to people, I would get these young, like 15, 16-year-old kids that were getting into cosplay that were going, hey, will you rate my cosplay? And the first couple of times I was like, no, I can't. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to crush your dreams. And they were like, no, I seriously want someone to be honest with me because everyone says the same thing. Oh, it's great. It's great. It looks fantastic. It's like, are you sure? Because I'm not going to be an asshole, but I will tell you about it. And they're like, yeah, no, tell me. So I go and look at it. And there's one, I know the first 2 words to his username still. I don't know the number combination, but his name was Ghost Warrior. And he was one of my early followers, and he asked me to do this. I checked out his TikTok, and he had cardboard Mandalorian armor. And I asked him, look, was this your first? And he goes, yeah. Okay, cool. Then congratulations. You are taking the first steps into prop making or into the costume building space. So you're going to continue to learn more stuff. And now I see him pop up every once in a while, the few times that I do get on TikTok, and I see him 3D printing his stuff. He wanted the honesty. I told him, like, you're in the foundational steps of building costumes, so just keep going. And he did. And now he's 3D printing his stuff and building his costumes with better and better stuff. Because you don't have to be an asshole, but you shouldn't lie to people either because you don't want to hurt their feelings. There's a nice little happy medium of not being a jerk, but also giving positive feedback.
That's good, man. I my jerk sarcasm like mind went for so your first costume was made out of cardboard? Cool. Get EVA foam, dumbass. No, I'm just
Dude, I think I cannot. I tried my hand at doing the EVA foam thing and building costumes out of the foam. I'm all thumbs, I guess. I can't do it. I got no talent in that realm. I don't know what it is.
Foam is amazing if you can get it right.
I've seen. I can't think of her name right now. Oh no, she was a guest at. She was just a guest at Snafu. She was a guest at Lake Tahoe Con. Her name's like, I think her username on Instagram is like Gummy something. Her name's Maggie, and she does an Azula cosplay that is all made out of foam and fabric. She made it from scratch, and dude, you would never know some of the elements were made out of foam. She did such a great job.
It's awesome. So let's get into this one right here. The question here, another hard question. Quick answers only. Max Rockatansky versus one of the infamous ones. 1v1, no weapons. Who wins in a fight?
Max wins easily. I got no problem saying that my character's whole point is like, look at me. Look at me in real life. I'm a tall, scrawny dude. Yes, I'm hinging on shooting with the laser gun because I don't want to get in a fist fight because I'm probably going to get my ass whooped.
and we know that Max he can hold his own in a fist fight. So yeah. Thunderdome is all the proof that we need.
I'm toast. If it's the infamous Rebel from Aftermath versus Max Rockatansky from Mad Max, no, I'm cooked, and I can take that L.
So what's next for you, man? Do you have any shows coming up, any cons, any projects that you have that are coming up soon?
I had an appearance. I'm starting to get back into doing the Trooper, and I was gonna be at a con. I was gonna be at Fandom Con this weekend with a Star Wars group, and that kind of fell through.
We're gonna
just had some life events that fell through for that one, but so probably not anything else for this year. I want to make another appearance at. I want to basically go to every local con there is next year. So local cons that are still maybe not local, but like in the close proximity kind of California region. I stated earlier that I want to do another film project by the end of this year. I don't think it's going to happen. Cold weather and snow is going to start rolling in. I don't see doing another project coming this year, but I am starting to piece together slowly but surely a Star Wars project. And I did release a quick little sneak peek at just it was like 10 seconds of footage that I filmed of just my helmet to my close friends list on Instagram, and it was very well received. So I'm excited to keep working on that project. That's going to be a very tough one. Like, I'm talking about all the trials and all the difficulties around making a short film. It's going to be very difficult even to do a Star Wars one, because when you're doing a Star Wars one set, against stormtroopers, finding people that are willing to take a fall in their stormtrooper armor, good luck. That stuff's expensive. That's a $1,200 armor kit, and they're not going to want to take a spill in that. Right.
So where can everybody follow you, find out more about you? Give everybody your pluggables, man. Put yourself over.
I try to keep this as simple as for everybody. My name here, The Infamous Rebel, is my username practically across all socials. I do have a Facebook page, but I don't touch it because Facebook is not where it's at these days for building a platform. Yeah. I'm most active on Instagram. I pop in on occasion on TikTok and post content, but TikTok's kind of on the down tick, it seems also. I think, and then YouTube, same name, The Infamous Rebel. If you search up the name, it's all one word like this. You will find me. And Instagram is easiest because then I have my link tree in my bio, so you can just click that, and then it takes you everything, my art portfolio, everything.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the show tonight, man. We had a good time, good conversation happening tonight. You're welcome to come on the show anytime that you want to come on, man.
Hey, man, I always tend not to ask, but you say when, you say jump, and I'll say how high, because I enjoy just sitting here nerding out and talking about cool stuff. So you say when, and I'll be there.
Yeah, we got to have you on when we're typically we do a bracket on the show. Yeah. That would have been fun to have you on, but again, my co-host that normally hosts that is comatose right now. So
no worries, no worries.
We'll have you on again so we can do some brackets and get into some nerdy stuff, man.
I'm totally down, man, and I will let you know how interested I am about sending you audio tracks of old timey post-hardcore vocals.
I'm gonna listen to the song after we go off the air, and then
you're gonna vomit.
No, I probably won't. As a recording engineer and somebody who worked in the music industry, more than a oh god, it was so terrible, I'm probably gonna give you honest critiques and be like, okay, yeah, the audio could have been better here, or you probably could have used the bridge in this part or something like that. I'll be more. I'll be critical, but in not in a positive way, in a constructive way.
And that's okay, because I hated it, so you can be critical.
All right. Well, that is it from us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It is now time for the dance party. We have had a crap ton of fun, but it is now time to get this going. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this going. Dance party time. There we go.
Distance nerding. We'll see everybody tomorrow.